So before we get into the main topic of today's video, I've got some housekeeping stuff I want to go over and some storytelling. So I just finished up a 2-mile run. I am dead, man. It's about 90 degrees right now. I got thrown up into an attic today at work. A little over 90 degrees at the time. That attic was at least 150. I was walking through the trusses, and the 2x4s up there were hot to the touch. You grabbed a hold of them and you're like, I don't want to hang on to that for too long. And anyways, had some wires sparking in there, and there was a blow-in insulation up there in that attic. Had about 1.5 feet of it. Anyways, some wires were cut up and they sparked and they caught fire. And so you got a 150 degree attic, blow-in insulation, and open flames. It's not a very good, situation to be in. I had about every recipe for disaster there was. Luckily, I got that put out pretty quick, but I had to sit in that attic for probably 30 minutes total, 35 minutes. Went up there for 15 or 20 minutes tracing out wires because this was on a service call. I guess the wire had corroded or a mouse got into it or something, and half the room lost power. So I was up in the attic tracing out wires, and then I was up there for 15 or 20 minutes doing that. And then we had ate Mexican for lunch, and I was getting pretty close to the point of throwing up. I had this monster burrito sitting in my stomach, and I was like, I gotta get down, I gotta get out of here. So I went outside, and it felt cool outside. It was like 92 degrees outside, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. So I got down there, sat down there for like 10 minutes, and then went back up in the attic. Put together some junction boxes and re-pulled some new wire. Was up there for another 15 minutes doing that, and dude, I sweat so much. Pants were soaked all the way through again. Wrung my shirt out at the end of it. Insulation, I had like a blanket of insulation over my arms where I was sweating, and kept rubbing over the insulation. And after being in an oven for 30-35 minutes, there's not a whole lot left to come out here and put out on the run. I was thirsty before I walked outside. Took a big swig of water and was walking down the driveway here, and I was like, dude, I am parched. This run's gonna suck. Sure enough, it did. It's still pretty high temps, and mouth is very dry right now. There's just not a whole lot left for the body to give today. And another thing, I'm pretty sure I'm about to go into a delicate stage of lifting. One day this week I had some lower back pain show up. It was on one of the days I posted a short. Had a little twinge in my back, and as somebody before that's had a lower back injury, which I'm pretty sure was like a popped disc, that caused me some pretty serious pain for several months. And so I felt that little twinge in my back, and it was a familiar pain, and it was not a good one. I was like, shoot, dude. And I walked inside. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to walk tomorrow. Did some stretches and stuff, and woke up the next day feeling pretty good. And for the most part, I've been feeling okay. And then today at work, I was showing off and did some pistol squats, and went down on the left leg, and as soon as I hit the bottom position, boom, that little twinge in my back again. I was like, shoot, shouldn't have done that. And then sat down for 5 or 10 minutes, driving to the next job, and got out feeling okay. And then as I was hunched over, crawling around in that attic, I could feel a little bit of back discomfort again, which means I'm probably gonna have to step away from the weights just a little bit, and focus more on rehab work again, like the ATG split squats, probably some side glute and just hip stability work, hip flexor stretching and strengthening work, stuff like seated good mornings. I'm sure that I'm gonna have to, you know, dive back into these for probably a good like training phase again, just to build everything back up. The thing about this like little lower back twinge is there's no real warning of it. You know, like you're going down into the bottom of the rep, you're feeling good. As soon as you hit the bottom position, there it is. And it's like, crap, you know, what do I do now? There's just a very quick boom, it's there. I'm kind of, you know, happy that I didn't push the workout the night that it happened, because that would have been a lot worse if I had 315 on my back versus 135. So probably just going to take a little bit away from the, you know, heavy squatting and put a lot of that time into mobility and rehab and stretching and strengthening, just to, you know, get the body feeling healthy again, and maybe get the body prepped. Oh, I keep burping. I feel like I'm gonna throw up again, kind of. Just get the body prepped for another big push in squat training. But that's pretty well all I got for the housekeeping stuff. You know, got pretty scared in an attic today. Thought I was gonna die up there. You know, you got, like I said, blow-in insulation, 150-degree attic. It's dry up there, and you've got open flames. It's things could go south very, very quick. Luckily, I patted it out real quick, or blew it out. That was scary. And I mean, just sweat my guts out, man. It is hot up there, very, very hot. And then came home, put in a 2-mile run. I wanted to do a little more today, but it's 6:30. I came out here about 5:45, 5:50, and I've just been walking around a little bit now. But pretty well all I got for today. And then, so just you guys get ready to see a lot of 135 for 10 videos, because that's probably going to be the extent of my squat workouts for quite a while, until I can, you know, just get rock solid in the lower back again. So on to the next part. All right, so I've got a few different things I want to talk about, mainly regarding this journal that you guys just read. This journal was sort of inspired by a book that I'm currently reading, Muscular Christianity, A Case for Spiritual and Physical Fitness by Paul Aponi. I don't know if that's how you say his name or not. I may cut out some of this dead time that I'm flipping through the pages. But here in this section, he's talking about, you know, sort of like men and their, and the roles that they play in like children's lives and, you know, throughout the church and stuff. And I can't read you this whole chapter on here, but, you know, he worded things a lot better than what I did in my journal. But he's got a line in here that says, children are 10 times more likely to be regular churchgoers if the dad takes an active part in their faith. So, you know, to me, you know, that stands out as, you know, the example of, you know, what us men have to be, especially, you know, when we become the head of the family. The type of you know, environment that we create, and, you know, sort of the energy that we carry around ourselves is very, very important. And, you know, I'm 20 years old. I don't have a wife or anything yet, no kids. But I remember even being as a little kid, looking up to a lot of the older kids throughout the church and, you know, throughout school and stuff. And so, you know, even as being an older kid, you know, we still have to keep in mind that there are younger eyes, you know, on us, kind of looking up, And so we have to be a good example. Simply put, men thrive in and feel good when they compete, win, and ultimately become an expert in their craft. In some different movie or some book, this author states that in the heart of every man is a desperate desire for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. This list best describes what men are ordered towards. Men want to fight against something and ultimately win the competition. Men want to take risks on their journey towards something great. Men want to fight for something, to lead in battle against something, and to strive for greatness, to champion a cause greater than themselves while living a strenuous life. Throughout this section, he's talking about how contemporary Christianity is sort of failing to meet like the needs for men, because a lot of people are trying sort of change the message of Christianity to something more feminine, and pretty well this book is writing against that, and how there's actually a lot of masculine characteristics of Christianity. It's been a pretty good book. I need to slow down when I read it. I've got a habit of reading it a little too fast. He's got a section here. Plato uses the word thumos as an expression of male life energy through blood, sweat, and vigor. It has to do with our will to fight and rebel against that which is intolerable. It is that fire in the belly that gives the men the drive to defend their family, go for a workout in the blizzard, and be acknowledged as someone who's at the top of their craft. He's got another section here. The manliest man in fiction. I guess it's some kind of book, some kind of fiction book. But there's this character named Whitebeard, and he's a huge, muscly figure standing at 21 feet tall. And by the time you meet him in the book, he's old and suffering from a life-threatening disease. He has one foot in the grave, like this guy's getting ready to die. Despite this, he gets up, suits up, and takes on the full force of the Navy in his mission to retrieve a member of his pirate crew, all of whom he calls family. So anyways, a little excerpt from that book with Whitebeard in it is, even in death, even with half of his head blown clean away, his body refuses to yield. His mighty figure, cutting swathes, I don't know how you pronounce that, through his foes, was truly monstrous. Over the course of his battles, he received a full 267 blade wounds. The bullets he endured totaled 152, and the cannonballs he has withstood amount to 46. And yet, upon the proud back of this legendary man, or indeed upon his very life as a pirate, he bears not a single wound of cowardice. He stands tall and proud with his hand on his sword, firmly placed in the ground to keep his body upright. He dies standing up because even in death, his very body, or his very will, refuses to yield. Even in death, nothing in this world can make this man fall to his knees. Also says in here, men don't admire passive or sedentary people. It's got another quote from a different author or somebody here that says, deep down, men long for a harsh affection. The love of a coach who yells at his players to get every ounce of effort. The love of a drill sergeant who pushes his recruits to the limits of human endurance. The love of the teacher who demands the impossible from his students. As Western society feminizes, it's getting harder for men to find this kind of love. Okay, then I'll read you guys a paragraph on here real quick too. At the end of the Thriller bark story arc, after a long battle, Luffy, along with almost everyone, is knocked out. Though heavily injured, Zoro remains the only one awake. A new antagonist, Bartholomew Kuma, appears and attempts to kill Luffy, but Zoro fights back to protect his captain. Zoro soon realizes he stands no chance against Kuma and offers his life in place of Luffy's. Kuma agrees and supernaturally removes all of Luffy's pain and offers to transfer all of it to Zoro. To test his resolve, Kuma gives him a small dose, and it inflicts serious pain on him. Kuma tells Zoro that if he were to take all of it, especially in his current conditions, he would die. Zoro, still resolute and without a second thought, agrees to take in all of Luffy's pain. He nearly dies in the process. Kuma upholds his promise and leaves the island. Later, when people find Zoro standing in a sea of debris covered in blood, they ask him what happened. Zoro simply responds, "Nothing happened." Let's see here. Think of every popular story among boys. It involves saving the world against overwhelming adversity and never giving up in the face of unspeakably stacked odds. Boys' stories are found in superhero comics, spy fiction, being down 3-1 in the NBA Finals and making that epic comeback in the World Cup Finals. This is because deep inside ourselves, we all want to be heroes, and we project ourselves onto those stories. Anyway, that's all I got out of the book that I was going to share with you guys. But I sat down and I was like, man, I think kids nowadays are sort of missing out on that idea of manhood. I remember as, being a younger boy, hearing the stories of, all of our things our parents used to do. And then, you hear, even greater stories of what their parents used to do. And so it's crazy, as a little boy, you've got this idea of manhood, that, you grow up and you got all these scars and, all these cool stories to tell. And I don't know. I feel like, like I wrote in this journal here, I feel like that sort of, like rough cut, like strong-willed, like leadership, just like driven type of men are sort of declining in society. And I don't know, I think, this idea of manhood is slowly declining. And so I fail to see it being represented properly. And, I don't really see younger boys, striving for that, like all the kids my age did when we were younger. It's the coolest thing ever. We wanted to be like our dads, go do all this cool stuff. Seems like an ongoing joke, but, our parents walked uphill to and from school. How does that work out? It's just that kind of sort of stuff. But you get these like legends in your head, and to like guys, it's always the greats that stand out. Like David Goggins and like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson going out and running at like 3 or 4 in the morning just to get an edge over the rest of his competition. And it's because he believed nobody else was out there, and he was going to be a dog and go out there when nobody else was, because he was the hardest man alive. Nobody could break him. And I think deep down, a lot of us men, resonate with that type of character. I think realistically, a lot more of us desire to, have that type of character more than we care to let on. Me personally, I'd love to have that, just unbreakable, tenacity. But I don't really see a lot of people, with that type of work ethic anymore, or, that type of ambition within anything. It just makes you think about things. But my finishing line here is, "May I die on this hill." And so I picture myself, standing on top of this hill of, trying to lead a life of what I think a man should. Trying to be as good of a leader as I can, trying to be as strong and as, dedicated in my faith, in my Christian faith, as much as I can. I'm trying to be a dog and go out there and run miles and just be this like unbreakable person. And it's like I've got this I've got this image of a man who I want to be. You know, I've got this image of like the best version of myself, the best version of the man, and it's like every day I've got to work to get to that person, because I'm not there today, and I know that, you know, if I don't try, I'm not going to wind up there tomorrow. Like, I won't get there by accident. And so it's like every day I've got to put in, you know, a few steps to get towards this goal of being better. And I've shared some other journals with you guys before. You know, I don't even know if, you know, what I'm striving for is attainable. But if it gives me fulfillment to, you know, sort of live a life of rebellion against the standards of society today. Like, the morals and the standards in society now don't really, you know, like fit to me. Sometimes I think I would, you know, would have been better off born, you know, 60 years ago. But, you know, so it's like in my head, I'm living this life of rebellion and, you know, just going to war, a single man against the entire, you know, thought of society. And so that really gets me going when I think about it that way. And, you know, so I wrote in here, perhaps one of vanity, but I have found my faith, my moral standards, and fulfillment in living as I think a man should. And so the one of vanity, you know, the Bible talks a lot about vanity, and I don't necessarily mean it in, you know, that sort of aspect that, you know, all of this that I'm doing is vanity. I more so wrote that as, you know, I'm going to take my stand against society, and I think there will be a lot of good in that for me. But, you know, it's like one man going into face an entire army. Like, obviously, he's going to lose that. And so it's kind of a vain attack to go up against an army by yourself. But there's like reward in it for me. And so it's like perhaps one of vanity. So, you know, I'll probably won't even make, you know, a chink in the armor of society. Like, I doubt, you know, I will have any serious change in society. Very, very little influence of the world as a whole. And so, you know, that's what I mean by perhaps one of vanity is, you know, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to take my stand. But it's not going to get me anywhere in the big picture. But as far as, you know, where I'm at, it's going to take me very, very far, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. I guess I put a lot of my thoughts into the journal. So I'm going to get into working out. Just going to do some recovery stuff today, and then I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Yesterday I had a lot more of this stuff ready to go in my head, but like I said, I slept in yesterday, and that really screwed up my sleep schedule. I got into bed around midnight last night and stared at the ceiling well up until like 2:30. So I'm probably a little sluggish right now, and you know, just don't have everything put together like I did yesterday. So with that being said, I'm going to get into this, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. So the meaning of, you know, may I die on this hill is, you know, I've got this image of a man, and like I've got this belief of how a man should represent himself and, you know, how he should live. And, you know, I want to live as close to that as possible. You know, like I want to be like the best quality of person that I can be. I just want to be as good as I can, and I never want my life to be, you know, separated from that mentality. You know, like I'm chasing this greatness and, you know, all of this different stuff, and, you know, that's what I want to, that's the mentality I want to die with, is, you know, if I'm not chasing the best version of myself, it's sort of a waste of life. And so that's kind of the meaning of, you know, may I die on this hill, is that I want to take this mentality to the grave with me. You know, if I'm still alive, I should still be, you know, attempting to be better, attempting to improve. And, you know, I just never want to be separated from that mentality of, you know, chasing the good man and, you know, trying to represent what I believe a man should be. Kind of hate that I didn't get around to explaining that until the very end of the video. That's just kind of how this one worked out. But if you've made it this far, I really appreciate you guys watching. I can only name a few of you consistent commenters that might have made it this far. So I appreciate you guys very much, especially if you've made it all the way through. So I'm sure there's a lot of rambling in this video. So I'm gonna get inside and take a shower. It's 9 o'clock now, and probably get into bed not too long after that. So y'all have a good one.